Welcome to the Bad Girls on Business, the podcast that makes business more fun so you want to do more of it. Here are your hostesses with the mostesses, Jenny Bellinger, Virginia Mooskies, and Michelle Nedelec.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bad Girls on Business, where we are going to deliver to you some serious business knowledge, some good savvy stuff with a little bit of sass. I'm Virginia Mooskies, the referral diva.
I'm Michelle Nedelec, your mistress in business, helping you to get it up and keep it up.
And I'm Jenny Bellinger, the direct sales dom, helping you whip your business into shape.
And today we are graced by the presence of the lovely Susan Crossman. She is an author, editor, book coach, and an adventurous who lives to harness the power of a good story to the goal of peace on earth. Having written 5 traditionally published books herself, Susan helps other inspired entrepreneurs polish their stories to make a difference in the world through her company, The Awakening Author. She provides book coaching and editing services and runs online programs for budding authors. Above all else, in all she does, Susan encourages her clients to join her in the all-important task of seeing with our hearts as well as our eyes. Welcome, Susan Crossman, to Bad Girls on Business.
Hello, happy to be here.
All right, so before we were talking about kind of who was going to get to take the lead on this, and it seems that other than you, our beloved guest, we do have among the Bad Girls a published author and 2 wannabes. So I think that we're going to let the published author and the wannabes, like we're going to take a back seat to all of this and toss this over to Michelle. So Michelle, I understand you do have a book.
I do have a book and I can read.
That is a skill.
It is really. And I really love buying books. I have a shopping fetish and I love buying books. So reading them, well, you know.
Just having them, holding them,
smelling them. I love them.
They're irresistible.
There's adventures in there and you just have to snuggle up to them and get it through osmosis.
That's pretty fun. So Susan, do you have a book fetish too?
Oh my God. And I want to know who the fool was who connected my Visa card to my Amazon account, because it is so hard for me to pass a good book. Somebody will say, oh, you've got to read this book. And I'll go, oh, okay.
Do you actually read them?
I made the mistake. Do you know what you can do? And I made the mistake of doing this, so don't do this, is you can actually get a setting on Kindle whereby they'll tell you when certain books of any category come up. So mine is anything under $1. So as soon as Kindle puts it on sale for under $1, I get an email with all those posts on it. And I go through them and it's like, oh yes, I want that. I want that. I want to know that. I want to know that. And I have a whole lot of books on my Kindle that.
Oh my God. Bargain book shopping. I love that.
That's crazy. Unfortunately, I can't read on a Kindle. I mean, I have one
Awesome.
And I write in my books, and I know you can like highlight in your Kindle and all that, but and then I tried it like with my little pad squiggly pencil thing that goes on my iPad. I just got to buy the books.
It's just nothing like paper.
There's nothing like paper,
But yes.
paper in a library.
Sometimes the old-fashioned stuff is still worth doing.
Indeed.
You can't smell your Kindle the way you can smell a book, right? Like you pick up that old book and it's the smell of the paper too for me.
Yeah, it's the connection.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
We really need to go out.
It's sexual. It really is.
We need to go out and like sit on a subway or something and all like smell our Kindles. Like, does this smell like Dickens to you? No, it's smelling like Shakespeare, old and musty.
You're hilarious. So on that note, though, a question popped into my head. Do you have to actually publish a 3D book before you can publish a Kindle, or can you go straight to digital?
Yeah, you can go straight to digital.
Susan?
Yep, lots of people do that. Yep.
Oh, cool.
Very inexpensive way to do it, actually.
And is there like a strategy to that that's different, or is it kind of 6 half dozen of the rest? Or
Well, I mean, I think it depends on your budget. I mean, it depends on why you're doing it. Let's back right up. Why are you writing the darn thing? Like, what is it you want that book to accomplish for you? And if it's back of the room book sales, then you need to go at the very least print on demand, but potentially self-serve or self-publishing companies.
You can't just go to the back of the room and they'll add it to your Kindle.
You probably could. Yeah.
Well, they have that new iPhone technology. When you buy a new Apple device, you like put your phone by it, and then all of a sudden it like sets it up for you. Which to me, like that is worth the like $50 million in Apple products that I've spent. It would be really great. You'd be like, oh, woo, okay, now it's on your Kindle.
Your entire library. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. So, Susan, talk about how you got into writing books, publishing books. Why do you even care about books? Like, take us on a journey.
Well, I was born the wrong way, probably. When it comes right down, I just, since being a tiny little girl, loved books. My dad used to read to us when we were little kids, and it was all about Winnie the Pooh and all those wonderful little childhood stories that really captured my imagination. And then when I was a kid, we had an apple tree in the backyard, and I used to crawl into the apple tree with a pad of paper, and I would sit and scribble, and it was just an entree into a magnificent world of imagination. And I'm kind of bent the language way. So all through school, I did really well in English and worked on the student papers and all the way through. And then I worked in journalism after university, and I worked in government communications and corporate communications, and worked at a marketing agency as a copywriter. And of course, the big dream was to write a book. That was, to me, the height of what you could do as a writer, would be to write a book. And so eventually I actually started one, and it took 13 years to write that first book. So yeah, 13 years. I'm a writer. I'm a professional writer, and I couldn't get that book done. It's a lot about mindset. I just didn't have the mindset. I didn't have the confidence. Who am I to write a book? Who's ever going to read it? I don't know how to get a book published. All of those confidence issues were really in my way.
Gosh, that must have been painful. I think elephants are pregnant for like 13 years or something. Just two. Of course, big book. Jenny, you're such a science geek. Stop. Jenny's like, it's 2. I'm like, all right, well, yes, of course she knows. Middle school science teacher. Anyway, is there any animal, Jenny, that is pregnant for as long as it took Susan to write that book?
Not to my knowledge. I'm pretty sure elephants being the biggest animal, although I don't know, I'd have to look into blue whales, how long they're pregnant for. I don't know. But
I don't know. It's like Jurassic Park eggs or something. I don't know.
I could have had 6.5 elephants by the time I had that book. Like, it was
truth. Absolutely. Well, it certainly,
all I got was one book.
It certainly makes me feel better about my process, because I've never had any desire to ever write a book until I was doing my vision board at the end of 2019 going into 2020. And as I'm doing my vision board, I'm like, okay, what do I see for myself this year and beyond? And one thing kept coming up: you're going to write a book. And I went, no, I'm not. Shut up. What else? And so I put the next thing on the board. And what else? You're going to write a book. Shut up. No, I'm not. Like, I fought it. And then
until there's you having an argument with your head, like one of those Etch-a-Sketches.
I really was. It's like, you're going to write a book. No, shut up, sit down. I'm not going to write a book. I have no interest in that. I don't want that. And so then I finally surrendered to it. I put it on my vision board and said, okay, fine. I will write the effing book. Okay, great. Now what? And I started.
I think you should call it that. The effing book.
Yeah. And so I did start writing it, and then a pandemic hit, and all of a sudden my business took off, and I did not have time to write. So I'm feeling much better about it now.
Take your time. You've got years.
The pandemic comes along, and Jenny's like, oh, okay, my business is good. Oh, now I'm homeschooling my children.
Yeah, pretty much. It came down to I no longer had time. I still have the idea in my head. I still have the stuff there ready to go. It's just I haven't sat down to do it. And so when you're working with someone who's in that space, they've got the idea. What are some of the first things you recommend for them? Because you did say it's a mindset thing, which I can agree with. I fought it for days before I finally put it on the vision board.
Well, one thing is, why are you doing it? Tied to your why. And I find the people that I work with have been almost called to write, like you were. It sounds like you had a calling, actually. You were arguing with that call to write the book. And that's quite true of a lot of my clients. And it was certainly true for me for some of the books that I've written. I said, no, I really don't feel like writing a book this year. Oh, okay. But you spent your whole life, Jenny, writing that book. you've spent your whole life becoming the vessel through which that book was meant to flow. And so you've got the whole universe aligned with you to get it done. So the kicking and screaming part, you can kick and scream, but you might as well surrender because it's probably meant to be. And when
Stop being a bratty sub, Jennifer, write the book.
It's kind of like being pregnant. It's like, you're too late. It's going to come out anyway. So, enjoy it.
yeah. And you can be pregnant for 13 years if you want.
Yeah. How long am I willing to fight this? For sure. Go ahead, Michelle.
What was your book about, Susan?
The first one?
Yeah.
The first one, it was a novel, and it was a story about a woman's experience of an abusive relationship. And really, real uplifting. It's a topic I really care about. First of all, in Canada, at least, a woman is killed by her domestic partner every 6 days. And so it's
a heavy topic.
Yeah, it's a pretty heavy topic, but I wanted to take a look at it. I had done some PR work for a women's shelter up here in Canada and was part of the opening of a second shelter. And it was astounding to me that there were some amazing women in this women's shelter, really bright, educated, articulate, fabulous people. And they were in fear for their lives. And so how does that happen? What's going on there? And so that became a lot of the impetus for writing the book, was to examine the issue and try and find some answers and create some hope and some inspiration for people.
Nice.
So
do you feel like that happened for you?
Yeah, writing a book is a transformational journey to begin with. So for me, as the author, I was in a much different place, especially with 13 years going by. But at the end of the book, I really was in a different place emotionally than I had been at the beginning. I have had lots of people come up to me and say, thank you for writing that book, because it gave me so much hope. Other people looked at the book and said, oh my God, you wrote my story. I couldn't believe everything you put in there is something that happened to me. And so it was very, very validating for me to have finally gone through the process and written the book, and then get this amazing feedback from people who were a bit embarrassed to say that they had been in an abusive relationship. There's a certain amount of shame that goes along with that when you are an articulate, educated, professional woman and you have allowed this to happen to you. It's a tricky topic. So
no kidding. So did you go on to write more books about that, or how did you get to the prolific writing that you do?
Oh my gosh, no. Well, so as I'm traditionally published, which means that I'm one of the authors that Manor House Publishing has under their roof. And after that first book was published, my publisher came to me and said, so have you written any short stories? And I was so stunned because I was so excited to write one book. It had never occurred to me to write another one. I thought, okay, I've done it. Like I have achieved my life's dream of writing a book. Wow. And then he said, how about a collection of short stories? And I went, oh, yeah, I do have some short stories. Yeah, okay, let's do that next. So that became the second book. And then my publisher came to me and said, you've been writing for a really long time, right? And I said, oh, I don't even want to tell you because you'll know how old I am. So he said, how about a book about how to write? So that was my first nonfiction book, was a book taking a lot of the stuff that I've learned in my career and providing kind of a writer's manual, kind of a guide on writing. And then he came back again and said, well, you do this thing called content marketing, right? And I said, oh yeah, that. And at that time, that was a big part of my business. It's not so much anymore. But he said, how about a book about content marketing? And I went, oh, I've always wanted to write a book about content marketing. So it just, and then the fifth one was a collaboration with one of my clients, my editing clients. And we did a book about where content marketing meets referral marketing. So that too is a guidebook. So I want to go back to fiction now. Like that's my next frontier, is another fiction book, or maybe a collection of short stories, because they're really fun.
Nice, guys. I was going to ask you, so are you income dependent on the books, or do you have another business on the go that you work into it, or?
Oh, there is no money in book writing for me. As a traditionally published writer, I get $2 for every book that sells. So it's, again, back to the why. If you're doing a book to create revenue, this might not be the best way to go about doing it. And of course, it's certainly in the beginning, I didn't have an idea of around revenue model around the book. I was just excited to write a book. Now I'm strategically writing books that support my business. So my business now is primarily as a book coach and an editor. And so future books will kind of tie all that together.
Nice. So were you doing, around your first book, did you do a book tour? Were you speaking on it, or you just wrote it? And
lots of speaking. Yeah, I did a lot of marketing about it. I could have gone a lot farther, but again, I'm certainly further down the track than I was when that book came out. But what really galvanized me into action around finishing that book, because I wouldn't be finished yet probably, but my husband passed away. And at sort of around the 11-year mark, he died. I had 2 little kids and an older daughter, but he died with a lot of songs unsung. And I was shocked. He was 48. And I went, oh my God. A lot of other stuff, but one of the things was, what if I die before I get this book finished? What if I never find out if I can be a published author? What if I don't know if I can do this? Like it really forced me to do an entire recalibration of my whole life. And that's when I went, no, I'm going to do it. I'm terrified to do it, but I'm going to finish this book. And so I did.
Susan, where does the terror come from? Because, okay, you and I have done a session, and I have to say, I'll just do the live kudos here. I mean, never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would have a 90-minute conversation with somebody and get a 20-page, this is who you are, this is why this book, like, this is why you want to write the book, when I don't even know who I am and what I want to write. Like, I don't even know that. And I have this meeting, and there's this document that's still sitting on my printer. I love it. But it's on my printer. And I walk by it every day and I'm like, I should pick that up and write something. And I'm like, nah. But the predominant fear, it's right here in my stomach, and it's terror. And I'm like, how terrifying is it to just write a sentence? It's not scary. Like, objectively, it is not frightening. I mean, I'm writing notes here. It's not like writing sentences is difficult for me. I can write sentences. So what is it that makes Jenny and I like go, hey, I'm not going to write. I have a book. I have a book in me. I think I'll leave it there.
Well, it sounds so much better when you say I have a book in me, right? Like you can string that out forever. I have a book in me.
Doing a good job.
Yeah.
I'm doing a really good job. So where does it come from? In your experience working with the authors that you've worked with and kind of thinking about how scared you are to get the book done, and the big motivation was, oh my God, it's more terrifying to think that I've got this half-written book than it is to finish the book. What is it? What's holding us all back?
Fear of the unknown, I would think, is a big part of it. Like when I was writing that book, I had no clue what I was doing. Professional writer, lots of great jobs in my history, but writing a book was something I had never been trained to do. And here's the big one. Here's what I think is really going on. When we start to do anything new, we do not have the neural network in place to make it familiar and comfortable. And writing that first book, there is no neural network for writing a book. You have a neural network for writing blog posts probably, or doing a business plan, or riding a bike, or creating meatloaf, but you don't have a neural network around writing a book. And so that first book is your brain going, holy shit, are you kidding me? No, we don't know how to do that. No. That's all uncharted territory. And so that's what the first book is about creating the neural network around writing a book, and the habits, and the strategy, and managing yourself, and getting the confidence to do it. But I think the real piece is your brain doesn't have a clue how to do it. And it's not familiar, and it's really uncomfortable. And it's like dancing naked in your mother's kitchen. Who does that?
Oh, that just made me grimace. Ew.
Right? Like, why would you ever do that?
I would dance naked in Jenny's kitchen.
Made me laugh.
But probably not in my mother's kitchen.
A lot of fear. There is a lot of fear, and it's just the unknown. I think that's the biggest part of it. We don't know how. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how our life is going to change as a result of this book. I think that's a big thing. People worry about their relationships. Like when I'm suddenly rich and famous as an author, I mean, how is my relationship going to survive that? I'm going to have to dump my partner and, orphan my kids or send my kids out to.
Jenny, we have our solution. Just write the book. Write the book and we can escape together to the island, that deserted island.
There we go. No, I would have to back Susan up on that, because I would say one of the things that had, like I said, I've had spurts of I write for a little bit and then I come back and it is fear-based. And I think for me, and I'm sure this is something you've probably encountered before, Susan, it's the, how much difference is my book really going to make, or the fear that I really want to write this book and it's not going to get out there and no one's going to see it and it's not going to make the difference I want it to make. Right. So.
And exposure. Right? Because as soon as you do, it's like everybody's going to call you on it if it's nonfiction. It's like, what? Really? You believe that? That's a load of crap. Or if it's about you, then it's like, God, you're such a loser. Why would you go through that shit? And those can be terrifying. And I think we've all hit on Virginia's question. The reason it's terror and not just fear is because there's so many elements of fear all wound up in a big ball.
A friend of mine published a book, and his book is called Don't Write a Crappy Book. And ever since that book got published, I can't write my book. I'm like, what if it's a crappy book? Like, I read the book, Don't Write a Crappy Book. And I'm like, well, what if I do all those things and I write a crappy book? Like, I'll have a crappy book. Like, I don't want to have a crappy book. It's like having shitty sex, right? Like, one of the reasons that I'm not a whore is because I don't want to have bad sex. I've had pretty good sex my whole life. I just don't want to trip across somebody who's bad at it. So I'm like, I'll just, I'm good.
Why would you write a crappy book? How could you possibly write a crappy book, Virginia?
No such thing as bad sex.
Well, I wouldn't do it on purpose.
But you have a team around you. Right? Like you'll have it. Everybody has an editor or should have an editor to.
Well, that would be step one in how I could write a crappy book. Check. People, you need an editor so that you don't write a crappy book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Smart. You're smart. You've got a structure now and you'll work on that and it'll evolve as you're writing your book. You've got great ideas. You've got a great imagination. And by the way, you have spent your whole life becoming the only person on the planet who can write this book because the world has conspired to make you the only person who can write this book. And there are no mistakes.
I feel so inspired.
So do you take on people who are like on any kind of book writer, or do you look for a specific kind of people that you're training? Or
yeah, I'm looking specifically for people who are writing books to make a difference in people's lives somehow.
Nice.
When I say world peace, I really mean that. I think if you read that one book or even one sentence in a book, it can change your life forever. And I really believe that we have, and I wouldn't say it an obligation, but an opportunity to write books that help people live better lives. And once people are living better lives, they're going to hate each other less. There's going to be less fighting and less conflict and more harmony and more inspiration and more hope. And somehow we can get there. We can get to a better world. And it's very Pollyanna, and I really believe it.
I totally believe it.
So if you're sitting on if you're sitting on the sidelines not writing a book because you're worried and you're scared, then I want to just go, come on, we need you. What are you doing? We need your book. The world needs your book. And somebody won't like your book. There will be people who hate your book. They're not your ideal reader. Ignore them. It's just like in business. You're not here to serve everybody. You're here to serve the people who need to hear what you have to say. And they're waiting for you.
Nice. So do you get people from all walks of life that are...
They're in pain.
And people that are dragged in and people that are running into you going, hey, help me write a book.
Yeah, I get people who have got an idea and they kind of want to write a book. And so we go from there. I get people who have started their book. They're maybe 3/4 of the way through it and they're stuck. I get people who have written a book and they know there's something wrong with it, but they have no idea, what to do. Primarily they're entrepreneurs or small business people who also want to use their book to build their business, because let's face it, it's a lot of time to write that book. It can cost a lot of money to get it published, and ideally there's an ROI of some sort, whether it's spiritual, emotional, or financial. I like to see it as a revenue generating opportunity for your business, because it really is.
I personally would like to see everybody over 80 write their book. I think we're losing a whole lot of history that needs to be talked about, especially when people don't live with their grandparents.
Oh man, you have hit that nail on the head, Michelle. Absolutely.
Well, my favorite story is, you'll love this. So we threw this epic birthday party for my mom on her 85th birthday. And then my dad's 85th was the following year. And we're like, oh, how are we going to outdo ourselves? I don't know if we can outdo ourselves in that one. And like, Dad's always sad. He wants to write his memoirs. So then I took 3 months to go over to his place every night and record his stories, and then went home, edited them, came back. 3 months later, we had a book, and I printed off a couple of hundred of these books, invited 100 of their best friends, and gave everybody the book. And Dad's like, I didn't know you were going to give it to people. I'm like, yeah, it's a reason for writing a book so that other people can read it. And he's like, he was so embarrassed because it was like, he was totally raw. He was like thinking that this isn't going to go anywhere until after I die, and it'll be okay then. And it was awesome because all of his friends were sitting there at the party reading it. And they're like, oh my God, I didn't know you went through that. And then the stories start going, and they're just getting to know each other on a whole new level that they didn't know each other on. And after 85 years of being somebody's friend, it was epic. It was awesome. And he was so ecstatic.
What an amazing gift. Yeah.
What a great idea. Yeah, for sure. Susan, so you have a little bit of a book writing process. Oh, there it is. Memoirs of PFN. I love it.
Nice. Beautiful.
Nice. She's got the photos on the back.
Wow.
Susan, talk a little bit about the process that you and I did together. So the process of drawing out the book from, okay, so we're all walking around, the universe has conspired to write a book within us. And then you are like the book whisperer and you draw that out. So talk a little bit about your process and what's in that report.
Oh, it's so fun. I just love doing those. It is so exciting for me. So here's my philosophy is that, yes, the universe has been conspiring with you since before you were born, probably, to make of you the perfect funnel through which that book was meant to flow. So what that means is that every family member you've had, every schooling experience, your siblings, your aunts and uncles, the jobs you've held, the relationships you've had, the accidents that have really ruined your life, the wonderful surprises that have been incredible for you, the partners, that this, that, and the other thing, all of that has created you. And you are the only person on the planet that can write the book. Now, here's the thing. That book already exists. That book does exist. So Jenny, you've been hearing the whispers of, write the book. Well, the book is an entity. It's in another dimension of who you are. But parts of it are scattered all through your life. So some of it's in your memory, some of it's in your imagination, some of it's probably on your hard drive, some of it's in your journals, maybe parts of it are in your body somewhere, locked up in parts of your body. There's bits and pieces of that book everywhere. And the process that Virginia is talking about is where we draw all of those pieces out into three-dimensional reality so that we can look at them, so that we put them in one place, gather them all up. And so my process is a process of simply asking questions with the understanding that you have all the answers because you've lived that life and your information has funneled through your experiences. So there is a lot of deep memory work actually that's coming out of that. And a lot of the questions are actually activators as well. So Virginia, when you walked away from that process, you were probably processing the experience of the interview that we had for quite a long time after that. And that's because we dredge up information and experiences and memories and so on that are all pertinent to the book, and they start connecting. Again, back to the brain, in your neural network, you're starting to make connections even after that interview that are relevant to the book. So we get a ton of information comes flooding out of you in that experience. We have a complete transcript at the end of it of everything that you've said. and a whole whack of information. So one of my areas of specialty is in seeing patterns. And so I take all of that information that you've given me. I don't make this stuff up. It's all stuff you've handed me, but I organize it and I analyze it and I put it in a structure that seems to be what is being called for. And part of it is years and years and years of writing books and coaching people and editing and all that stuff. Like part of it is raw skill set. It's just what I know how to do from here. Part of it is also just listening to the whispers of the book as you have delivered to me in creating some organization out of it. And that's what we end up. We at the end of the report looks at why you're writing the book. And again, keep going back to the why. Your why is usually significantly deeper than you think it is because you've been working on this book your whole life. And so the why tends to be very profound for people. We look at who the reader is. So we know who you're writing this book for. And that's a really important part too. You're not writing it for everybody. There are people that won't like your book, and that's okay because they're not your reader. And then we get into more themes in the book, what the book's about, what the kind of the approach that you're taking with the writing of the book. And also we come up with the chapters. Sometimes it's part 1, part 2, part 3. I've had people come up with crazy things. One structure was a Vesica Pisces. I see it visually, but it had 2 parts with a central section that actually had elements of both parts in it, which was really kind of, anyway, it's again patterns that I see. And yeah, and that's pretty cool. It's really exciting for me because I'm discovering things every time I work with somebody. I have a lot of fun doing.
Awesome. So yeah, you threw out a $25 word there that I didn't catch, and I went,
Yeah. Oh, which one? Vesica Pisces?
Yes.
That one. So Vesica Pisces, it's a sacred geometry related term. It's a Venn diagram, I think is the other way to put it. So if you know a Venn diagram, there's this set of things and that set of things, and then the 2 circles overlap. And in the middle is the central common area.
Nice. So when somebody's writing, I know a lot of people that I know that have written books get really hung up on, well, it's got to be in chronological order, and I don't remember what happened when. And is this really the truth of what happened, or is it just the way I remember it? How do you approach all that?
Well, we tell the truth as best we can. And I think that there's some merit in saying, well, this is how I remember it. And that's so true. You know, my sister had the cutest little sports car when she was in university. It was adorable. It was this little Alfa Romeo that had belonged to a neighbor. And it was this adorable little white car. And so I was talking to her about a month ago, and I said, remember that cute little white Alfa Romeo you had in university? And she said, it wasn't white, it was blue. And I said, no, it wasn't, it was white. And she said, no, it wasn't, it was blue. Just to your point, you know, we both remember different aspects of the truth. We agreed on the brand of the car and the make of the car, but, you know, the details kind of get lost. And I think we can be forgiven for not remembering everything, but I think it's helpful to be as honest with your readers as you can be.
Nice. Well, at least it wasn't like a Cadillac or some big boat of a car going on. I swear to God, it was the 2-seater.
Oh, no, you sure? Are you sure?
And when somebody's writing a book, if there's kind of, say, a self-imposed date on, I want to get this book written by X, and they're looking at editing, how much time do you suggest people allocate to editing?
Depends on the size of the book and how good a writer you are, to be honest. Some people are really comfortable writing and they just crank it out like that. The sentences flow beautifully. They have gorgeous sentence structure. Their grammar is really good. And, you know, a book like that that's at, say, 150 pages is a much easier edit than a book that's 300 pages and language is a bit of a challenge. I've edited people whose first language was not English. And even though they were very articulate people and very, you know, professional people, it's harder for some people than it is for others. I've edited people who are dyslexic. I remember one project, it was an astounding project. The client came to me, she had 210,000 words or 250,000 words, like mega, like an average book is about 55,000 words. So this one was 4 reasonable sized books, and it was all in one chapter. And she's dyslexic. And so that editing job was a really big project. And it took, oh boy, we were over a year working on that. We chopped it down into 7 books, and there was a lot.
That's my fear right there.
But what's
my fear is I hand it over to Susan and she goes, oh, this is going to be 2038 before this book ever hits the market. Like,
that's okay. You got friends.
Just
we'll just take 10 pages each and, make something out of it.
Yeah. Get a beta reader.
Oh.
Get a beta reader.
But I am curious about the person who didn't speak English as a first language. And my first thought goes back to Tom Sawyer, and it's classic because they're not really writing in proper English. So is it really a fallback, especially depending on the type of the book, I'm assuming? Like if you're going to teach something on English grammar, you probably want to have a little bit of backbone on it. But if it's a personal story, isn't that kind of more fun to read in? You start to hear the accent when you're reading it.
Yeah, there are different schools of thought on that. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It depends on how skillfully you can convey the accent. I'm working with the accent. That accent was a real accent.
When you're writing about the gestation period of baby elephants, it's better to use proper English.
Or Jenny's background.
Yeah, like some people do it really, really well and some people don't. And I'm working with someone right now and she is so good at it. And it's kind of a Southern American accent that she's using. And she's pulling it off beautifully. But I've also read passages from people and I have no idea what they're saying because the language is so skewed. And so who's your reader and what do you want to get out of the experience of the book for yourself, but also what do you want them to get out of it? So it always comes back to the reader.
It just occurred to me that when this whole fear thing is really because you make the writing about you and you're not making the writing about the gift to the audience, right? Like when I stand on a stage, I am legit never worried about me.
Oh yeah.
I'm watching the audience. I'm thinking about the audience. I'm delivering for the audience. I'm loving the audience. I'm energetically like entwined with the audience. Like I'm making love to the audience. Like, let's just be real. That's like the experience. So I'm just going to go start, having sex with my notebook. It'll be fine.
You're going to videotape that?
Isn't a pen kind of like a phallic symbol? So we're going to come up with an entire thanks, Michelle, for that visual that no one on the podcast can see, nor should they. Listen, to wrap up, I want to ask one more question because we've talked about the writing, we've talked about the editing. Just give us in 2 minutes or less a summary of publishing options. Like, so what are publishing options? And just a real quick, like, if it's like this, you want this, or I know it depends is the answer, but give us
Okay. Traditional publishing, very hard to get into, high barriers to entry, no cost. If you can get a traditional publishing contract, you don't pay for anything other than your own copies of your books, but you get $2. I mean, in my case, $2 for every book that sells. It can take 6 to 8 years to track down a traditional publishing contract. Not a good option for most people. Also, you are licensing the publisher for the use of your content, and a lot of people have an issue around that. Self-publishing is a little more achievable for most people, but you pay for everything that happens from the time that manuscript leaves your hands, including the editing, the book cover, the formatting, the digital files, the ISBN number, the uploading to Amazon, but the self-publisher takes care of everything for you. And so prices there range from, probably $4,500 on the low end. And I had one client come to me asking me to review his proposal that he received from a publishing company at $25,000. So there's everything in between self-publishing companies. It's the Wild West. And there are some very dishonorable outfits in there who are out to take your money and run. That $25,000 offer, he was going to get 5 copies of his book for that and a whole lot of stuff he didn't need. So And then the other option is do it yourself. Just upload it all to Amazon, and there's a steep learning curve with that, but you can get print on demand options as well. And it's pretty inexpensive. It's probably the cheapest option is to just go straight to Amazon yourself. But and again, quality is the issue all the way along. Traditional publishing, you're going to get a high quality book. It'll look nice. It'll be well laid out and all the rest of it. Nice book cover. If you do it yourself, you have no idea what your skill set is around that. And it may not end up being the best thing for your reputation. So go back to your why. Why are you doing it?
I love it. Never be afraid of a book.
All right. So this has been great. What a terrific interview. And we're going to do the Salty Five. All right. So you ready, Susan? We're just going to ask you a question. You choose A or B. Ready?
I am.
Marketing.
Okay.
Seduce them or dominate them?
Seduce.
Networking. Exhibitionist or voyeur?
Voyeur. Absolutely.
Okay. Leadership. Gentleman dob or power sub?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I kind of like power sub.
Yeah, me too. All right. Delegation. Marriage or mistress?
Oh, I like both of them. I have to pick? Well,
you can hybrid polyamory. There we go. Affairs.
No, I'm not into that. Okay, marriage. We'll go for marriage.
Marriage. All right. Last one. Entrepreneurship. Monogamy or polyamory? One business or many?
Oh, is that what that means? Oh, okay. I went somewhere else.
And here you were telling us that you were all straight-laced, and I was afraid to make you do this.
Oh God, never be afraid. Polyamory.
Yeah. I think she's our kind of girl. You now are an official bad girl on business there, Susan. Woo-hoo! All right, let's do takeaways and the last word. Michelle, takeaways from today.
That's okay. Your mom's going to be the only one that reads the book. So as long as your mom loves you, you're golden.
Jenny.
She loved it.
The big takeaway are the various fears and learning to address them and how it ties back to your why and letting that pull you rather than pushing yourself past the fear. I love that.
For me, it was the realization that I'm not writing. If I'm going to write the book and I'm going to make myself the issue, then the book is never going to happen. The book is to serve the audience, and the audience already likes me, so I'm good.
Nice.
Like, no fear. My audience already thinks I'm cool, so I can write my book now, which is awesome. All right.
Virginia, I want you to write the book on entrepreneurial polygamy.
My mom has Alzheimer's and cannot speak, so it's really
polyamory.
She's gonna love it. She's like, Virginia, who are you? What? Okay. So Susan, the last word.
Well, I'm stuck on polyamory or monogamy, and I think with that in mind, Virginia, you're going to write a lot of books.
Okay, I'm just going to write down.
Don't stop at one.
Okay.
Right?
Books are like orgasms. Don't stop at just one.
You're way wittier than I am. You are so much wittier than I am, Virginia.
Yeah, that's your last word, and you didn't say it there, Susan. So I'm attributing the last word. Lord. Oh, heaven.
That's quite a title. That's very catchy.
Entrepreneur. Yeah. Polyamorous. The polyamorous entrepreneur. I love it. Yeah. It would be a lot like Paulina's, Laid Bare, what the business lady learned from the stripper, and she's both. It's kind of an interesting interview. It was really fun. So, all right, Susan, do you have a giveaway or something, or a place that, our audience can say, I want to engage with you?
Yes, I sure do. 2 ideas. See which one appeals. I have a free 3-module course in how to write better. And it takes people through the process of writing with better structure, better style, and 4 more audience engagement. And that's available at crossmanscrashcourse.com. That one's free. And if anybody is really keen on a book, contact me and let's chat. And you can email me at susan@crossmancommunications.com. I do lots of discovery calls, and I am waving the banner for more good books out there. Just Just do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm going to put a huge plug out there for Susan. I have been thinking about writing a book. I have met book coach after book coach after book coach, and never have I swiped my credit card until I met this beautiful woman who really, when I said seduce or dominate, seduction is really your gift. It was really effortless to walk through the door. It was effortless to submit to that leadership. So I know you said power sub, but you really kind of are a gentlewoman dom in the book. It was very easy to surrender and submit to the process and to your leadership for that. So I thank you. And anyone who's got a book inside you and just knows that the universe has written the book and is asking you to birth it, I highly encourage you to engage with Susan Crossman. So I guess I'm going to say bye for today. And you guys, I think we've given you a whole lot of savvy with a little bit of sass. So make sure you head over to badgirlsonbusiness.com and grab your free gifts and find the Easter egg. Thanks for listening to the Bad Girls on Business. And until next time, have a great week.
Thank you for listening to the Bad Girls on Business podcast. Don't forget to check the show notes for any links mentioned in this episode and for additional contact information about the guest or our hostesses. If this show got you going, we'd love to hear about it when you subscribe, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Can't get enough of the direct sales dom, the referral diva, or your mistress in business? The Bad Girls have hidden their gift for you at badgirlsonbusiness.com. When you find the Easter egg, use the password BGOB to unlock your treasure chest of goodies.